In this video, we're going to start talking about system recovery. Okay, recovery is the process of pulling all the refrigerant out of an air conditioning or refrigeration system so that you do not vent the refrigerant to the atmosphere when you're working on the major components, which is your compressor, your metering device, your evaporator, and your condenser. So we start off by talking about the recovery machine. All recovery machines are different. Make sure you read the operation manual for the machine you're using. Using a machine in the wrong manner can cause equipment damage and personal injury. You must wear safety glasses at all times. The worst thing you can do is get refrigerant in your eyes. Okay, you can actually get seriously hurt with that. The 3 R's of protecting the environment are recovery, recycling, reclamation. Refrigerant should be recovered from the system as a liquid. This is quicker and easier. Recovering as a vapor takes considerably longer. Refrigerant hoses should be of a good quality and have good sealing gaskets. Some recovery units may require a warm-up period of up to 10 minutes. Again, read all information regarding the recovery units you are using. Recovery is defined by the EPA as removing refrigerant in any condition from a system and storing it in an external container without necessarily testing or processing it in any manner. Recovered refrigerant can be reused in the same system. Refrigerant recovery can be reused in a different system if owned by the same owner. You may not transfer ownership of refrigerant. So per the EPA, refrigerant that has been recovered cannot be sold to another customer unless it meets new refrigerant specifications under ARI 700. Recycling refrigerant is defined as cleaning the refrigerant by oil separation and single or multiple passes through a device such as replaceable core filter dryers. The filter dryer reduces moisture, acid, and particulate matter. Recycling means to clean up the refrigerant. Reclaiming refrigerant is processing refrigerant to new product specification by means that include distillation. This requires chemical analysis of the refrigerant, and the refrigerant is processed to new refrigerant standards. Refrigerant that is reclaimed may be sold without hefty excise taxes. This is an incentive to save and reclaim old refrigerant. So there are several different recovery techniques. Active recovery uses a dedicated compressor in the machine to move refrigerant. This can be done on a system with a bad or missing compressor. So if you have a recovery machine that you're connecting to the system, you're using active recovery. Passive recovery is system dependent. The system compressor must be operational. Passive recovery uses the system's own compressor to move the refrigerant. We don't do that very often. Piercing valves. Okay, you have to recover refrigerant even in a sealed system with no access valves or fittings. So if you're disposing of a window air conditioner or fixing a window air conditioner, you still have to recover the refrigerant. When servicing a sealed system, you cannot just cut the pipe and let the refrigerant out. This is a piercing valve. What it allows you to do is mount it on the pipe that you want to put a gauge on or your hoses onto, tighten it down, and it actually pierces the pipe and allows you to recover the refrigerant. A piercing valve will clamp onto the line and allow you to recover refrigerant so the system can be serviced. Piercing valves are temporary and cannot be left on a system as they leak. You want to install a permanent valve while the system is empty. So to recover, step 1 is to get all the equipment together. You're going to need your gauges, you're going to need extra hose, you're going to need a recovery cylinder, a scale, and a recovery machine. You want to find the net refrigerant that you can have in the recovery cylinder. So you have the weight of the contents that's stamped on the cylinder times 0.8 is 80% of the liquid level. Then you add in the tare weight, TW, stamped on the cylinder, and you can find your total capacity weight. Do not overfill. Do not ever fill above that capacity weight, and make sure you zero out your scale before you put the cylinder on it. So again, tare weight And WC, which is weight of water capacity, is stamped on the outside. Okay, tare weight in this case is 24.6. Content weight of contents or water capacity is 47.7. Cylinders come in different sizes depending on the job you're at. Most often you will either have the two bottom size cylinders on your vans or in your storage. Connect your gauges to the equipment. The red hose goes to the high side of the equipment, liquid line. Blue hose, low side, goes to the low side of the equipment, the suction line. Make sure all your gauge valves are closed. Connect the recovery machine. The middle hose from your gauge manifold will connect to the inlet port of the recovery machine. There might be an additional hose from the recovery machine that will go to the liquid side of the recovery cylinder. Starting from the hoses connected to the equipment you're recovering from, purge all air out of the hoses. Once you get to the gauges, open both side handles and the valve that goes to the white hose. If you have an extra hose, leave that one closed. At the recovery machine, turn the inlet valve to on and the discharge valve to on. Bleed the air out of the line at the recovery cylinder before you open the valve on the recovery cylinder. Step 5, turn the recovery machine on and wait until all gauges show 0 psi. Sometimes you can go as low as 5 inches vacuum. Don't let the machine run too long in a vacuum. Close the gauges and wait a few minutes to see if the pressure doesn't rise from residual liquid in the system. Once the system is empty, close all gauge handles. Purge the recovery machine if it has that feature. Turn off the recovery machine. Turn off the recovery cylinder valve. Don't ever run the recovery machine with the recovery cylinder valve closed. Disconnect the recovery cylinder machine, put them aside. Weigh the recovery cylinder and record the weight and the net refrigerant covered. That is required by law. You have to do that. Recovered refrigerant cannot change ownership. Refrigerant must be reclaimed to change ownership. The refrigerant is the property of the person who owns this equipment. Recovered refrigerant cannot be mixed. Recovery cylinders must be DOT approved and color-coded gray with a yellow top. DOT, Department of Transportation, they approve the recovery cylinders, not the EPA. All newly manufactured recovery and recycling machines must be certified by an EPA-approved organization to meet the requirements of the evacuation table standards. Always evacuate the machine before each use. When recovering 134A or 410A, you want to use a machine that is dedicated to that refrigerant. The oil requirements are different. Recover as a liquid when possible, and most recovery machines will first get the liquid and then the vapor on their own. Make sure you replace all caps from the unit and the equipment. Caps on the recovery unit keep out contaminants. Now, once your refrigerant is recovered, do your repair work. You can do whatever repair work you need to accomplish. Make sure you do not leave any leaks or braze near your gauges while they are connected. Remove any Schrader cores while you are brazing. They have rubber seals and they will melt.